welcome, one and all, once again to Empower Volusia Common Sense. My name is Jason Davis, and we are coming to you from an undisclosed location in somewhere in the Highlands, Upper Highlands, of course, of western Volusia County, Florida. And we're guarded in our little iron bunker here by two rabid Pomeranians and one crazy cat. Wow, folks, last week, let's see, today's date. Actually, every once in a while I do these on a Sunday, and today is Sunday, the 15th of December, 2019. And sometimes I do these things because, the circus just comes into town, and, yeah, sirree, Bob. The old circus is in town, and guess what? The clowns are running the big top, big time. There's last week on Thursday. On Wednesday they did this big, huge, quote unquote, and I'm doing the air quotes here, debate on the articles of impeachment. There was no debate. Folks, that was not a debate. That was absolutely just ridiculous pontificating and posturing, and everybody just, we're going to say what we need to say. And after about, a good friend of mine who passed away recently, his name is Tom Conley. And Mr. Tom Conley, he was a great friend. He was one of the great philosophers of our time. He was. And I'm going to quote him on this one here. And this is to you, Tom. What more can I say when I've said it all before? And after 2 hours of this so-called debate in the hallowed halls of Congress in the Judiciary Committee, they really had said it all. They had said everything there was to say about this ridiculous impeachment. They passed the articles, of course, as you know now, unless you've been living under a rock. The one article is abuse of power. And, yes, and the other one is obstruction of Congress. Let's just take the latter first here. The obstruction of Congress is not obstruction because the president and his staff went to the Supreme Court, the third leg of our three-legged stool of government. And that's what we have. We have three legs. We have a legislative branch. We have a judicial branch, or executive branch. Then we have a judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court and the federal court system. The way the government works is someone issues a bill. The bill is debated, spoken, argued, discussed ad nauseum, literally at times, and then it goes from the House of Representatives to the Senate. If it is passed in the House of Representatives, it goes to the Senate, and the Senate then will debate, discuss, argue, and carry on. They have different rules over there. One of their rules is filibuster. They can create a filibuster by just talking and talking and talking. They don't even have to talk about the issue, and basically that's a tactic just to wear down your opponents so that they're just like, please, just do something because we're tired of hearing you talk. But anyways, that's another discussion for another day. So it goes to the Senate, and the Senate would then, if it passes the Senate, then it has passed Congress. Let me just say this. Then it has passed through Congress. The Congress of the United States consists of two basically entities. One entity is the House of Representatives, which, believe me, these guys act like a bunch of children. And I tell you, they cry all the time, and whoa, and they carry on like ridiculous, crazy, stupid things. And then they send it over to the Senate. The Senate then debates it and passes it or not. It has to pass through both houses of Congress. There's the key. It has to pass through both houses of Congress for that bill to move forward. Now, if the Senate says, no, we don't like this because it needs to be redone, they can rewrite parts of that bill and pass it and then resubmit it back to the House of Representatives. This is the way it works. Sometimes it becomes a back and forth between the two houses. But this is for all you people that didn't take a civics lesson. Because in civics, they'll explain all that to you. What's civics? Oh, it's a course we used to take in high school to learn about how government works. But anyways, digressing. So now, let's just say a bill was issued. It went through the House of Representatives. Then it goes to the Senate, and the Senate passes it. Then it goes to the President of the United States. He will then look at it, and he has two options. He can sign the bill, or he can veto the bill. Veto means no go. You have failed at this station. And he sends it back. Says no. He can write his notes on it, what he says needs to change for him to approve it. This is his executive prerogative. That's his power as the President of the United States. Yes, he has power. And then they can either do one of two things. They can either redebate it and send it off to the Senate, or versa versa. He can send it back to the Senate, and they can redebate it and approve it and send it back to the House, or it will die on the floor with no votes. So that's how government works. But what is this Supreme Court? Supreme Court is what their sole function in life. These justices that sit up there, what they do is they determine whether or not an issue, a bill, or law is constitutional. Now, in the case of impeachments, the House of Representatives, who has the sole authority to impeach a president, and that's all. All impeach means is we levy charges against him. We're charging him with his crime. That's all that is. It is not the end of the world. Believe me, almost every single Republican president has had articles of impeachment levied against them. You don't know most of them. There's only been 4 that have actually passed. But Ronald Reagan they filed articles of impeachment against Ronald Reagan. They filed articles of impeachment against George Bush. They filed articles of impeachment against Bill Clinton. And those actually stuck, and they went through a trial. But that's the process. That's what we do. But in the case of the 4 impeachments, Andrew Jackson, I think it was Andrew Jackson, and but it was Bill Clinton and Richard Nixon. Both of them sought the advice of the Supreme Court. That's what you do. Because everybody said, well, you will turn over these documents. And they said, wait a minute, that's executive privilege. I don't want to turn those over. You will turn these over. Now, if we just let the House of Representatives say, you will turn this over or not, we're going to file charges against you. Oh, that's kind of a dictatorship. That is right there. That's basically socialism. You will do what we say or else. That's not the way this government works. So, both Richard Nixon's attorneys and Bill Clinton's attorneys and now Donald Trump's attorneys have all gone to the Supreme Court and said, this is a request. Do we have to honor this subpoena? That's it. Donald Trump's attorneys have already done this. When they started issuing these subpoenas for all these documents, they immediately filed with the Supreme Court. Now, they've been sitting in the court on their docket for 3 months. But the Democrats don't want to let you know that. And because they have been sitting on the docket at the Supreme Court, waiting for a ruling, you can't charge him with a crime because the Supreme Court may say no. Because in the issues with Richard Nixon and Bill Clinton, the Supreme Court said no. You do not have to turn over these particular documents. Okay. And guess what? The House of Representatives has to accept that. Now, do we think that, and actually, it's almost the same exact kind of documents was requested by the 2 previous houses, the 2 previous impeachment inquiries, as for Donald Trump. Supreme Court has already said no. So they're going to go back to their old ruling and say, no, this stuff falls within the purview of the Supreme Court ruling of 1998, Bill Clinton impeachment, blah, 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 blah. They'll give a big, long 10, 15-page dissertation about why it's unconstitutional to ask for documents contained with executive privilege on him. Oh, which is a constitutional right of the president. He gets executive privilege. And anybody he wishes to extend it to on the first tier of his levels, they can also enjoy executive privilege. So, there we go with that. So, you gotta enjoy or really appreciate the Supreme Court, because without the Supreme Court, well, let's be realistic, folks. The House of Representatives would be a very, very scary thing to have file an impeachment against.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
And that's what you would be, very, very afraid. We're already afraid of. We're getting afraid of the House of Representatives because Adam Schiff illegally, note the term illegally, against the law, not with due process, not with anything. He had no probable cause to ask for and obtain the phone records of Devin Nunes, a House of Representatives, senior member of the minority on the committee there that he sits on. Oh, my goodness. The Intelligence Committee. I have a hard time with that one because it's an intelligent committee, and there's really kind of an oxymoron there. There's not a lot of intelligence there. He also got the telephone records of a news media guy who works for Fox, by the way, but they got his telephone records. Wow. This is absolutely ridiculous what they're doing. He's doing this illegally, but he's yelling at the president for doing something illegal. This guy needs to go to jail. I'm sorry, folks. He has broken every House rule. He broke their own new House Rule 660, and now he's violating the law by illegally obtaining telephone records of all these people. There's 3 or 4 people he's gotten these records for. How ridiculous. What do you need them for? And believe me, these people are suing the living pants off of him. Yes, pretty good. Liar, liar, pants on fire. I don't know if I want those pants. Anyways, so that's the way the process works. So this article of impeachment number 2 is ridiculous because you can't file articles of impeachment because it's in a court case and you have to wait for the Supreme Court to say, yes, you have to turn it. Before you can file a charge, you can keep the subpoenas out there, but you cannot file a impeachment charge against a president if all of the paperwork is tied up in the court system, which is the legal remedy for disagreements between the House and Senate of the United States and the President of the United States. They are also the remedy for a disagreement between the citizens of the United States and both executive and legislative branches of the government. Because if you've ever heard of, well, that law is unconstitutional, that's because the Supreme Court has had a meeting and said it's unconstitutional. They have deemed it unconstitutional. That is one of the functions of the Supreme Court, is they test, read, research, and determine the constitutionality of any law that comes out. Remember Obamacare? They said, oh, it's constitutional, even though it's not, because the Constitution really says, there's a clause in the Constitution that says you can't make somebody buy something if they don't want it. There is a clause in there. Anyways, so let's, after listening to a bunch of the Democrats and Republicans ramble on the talking heads all weekend long, here we are Sunday, and slowly but surely, the list is getting bigger of Democrats that are jumping the Democrat ship, the Schiff ship, because they are realizing that this is going to go nowhere. Nowhere. They're even trying to implicate the majority leader in the Senate, Senator McConnell, by saying, oh, he's working with the president to amass his defense. No. What he's doing with his attorneys there is everything is legal, is saying, who do you want as a witness so I can get the subpoenas together? He's working with them, yes, so that he can have his constitutional rights when it comes to this trial. Now, as I've said, the list is getting longer and longer every day of these Democrats that are jumping this sinking ship. The shift ship is going down, baby, and it's going down fast. We already know about 6 or 7 that are probably not going to vote for it, and there may be more, which is all fine with me. Let's just end this process like you. I'm tired of it. It's consuming everything on the television. The news media, that's all we hear about is, this, that, this. What about this person getting shot or that person? What's going on in the world? We don't know because everybody is so focused on impeachment. We've got to impeach this president. And they've been saying that since November 6th, 2016. Actually, back in June of 2016, they said, well, if he gets elected, we'll just go ahead and impeach him. I don't know what for. You got to have a crime before you can impeach. They gotten this all backwards. You don't say, we're going to impeach you, and then look for a crime. You first have to have a crime, and then you file articles of impeachment. It's the way it's supposed to work, according to that pesky document that keeps getting in the way called the Constitution. And why are they doing it this way? Well, because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Ever since Donald Trump has been in office, he's been taking something away from all the crooked politicians and the deep state swamp in Washington, D.C. What is that? Well, it's this right here. That's always been my big question is how in the heck do you go ahead and get ready? How in the world do you go make a job at $180,000 a year? And after 4 years, oh, look, I'm worth $23 million. It would take you 10 years to make $1 million. Oh, look at Obama. He went in penniless. He didn't have anything. And now he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Wow. Oh, that's because of my book sales. Now, your book was not that good. I actually started reading it, and after about 4 pages in, I was like, oh, my goodness sakes, I got to get out of this. This is ridiculous. Who cares? Who would buy this thing? Yeah, that's true. But anyways, so the articles of impeachment are written, and they are now going to go to the House of Representatives. And what are they going to do at the House of Representatives? Well, they're going to go ahead and they push this. They want to get it done before December 25th. They want to do it before the Christmas break, which is in like a week from today. They'll be on Christmas hiatus because this is so constitutionally important. But if it's so constitutionally important, why'd you take weeks off in August and October and a couple of days off here in November and now in December? We got to get it done before we have to go on vacation again. You don't have to go on vacation. You could stay there and do your job. But no, we got to get this thing done. So this week coming up, they're going to head and they're going to put it on the floor for a vote.
Almost as stupid as a stupid does.
And that may be the stupidest thing in the world because let me tell you what. And you got to love this. Because President Donald J. Trump, who, as you have read the transcript, and I have read the transcript, I've read it to you. It's in the archives here. The transcript, I have read it to you. There is nothing in there. The word demand does not exist. It was, hey, could you do us a favor? Us, our country has been, had some problems, and we've been, doing, things have been happening here. That's a favor for the country. It's not a favor for Donald Trump. He's just trying to get to the bottom of things. I mean, and, oh my goodness, heaven help us, we find the truth. But the truth may be that there is other issues going on there. So, Donald Trump and pretty much most of the people in the United States, we think that this is going to pass. It may pass by a very small margin, but it will probably pass. But then that's exactly what Donald Trump wants because he is looking forward to this going to the Senate.
Let's get ready to rumble!
That's right, folks. He is waiting for that battle. Can you just imagine? But let's play a what-if game here. What if it passes? What if it goes through? Well, I'm going to tell you something, folks. This is something that a lot of people don't like to hear, and there is this thing called, It's called this.
You can't handle the truth.
That's right. The truth is coming out. And here is the real truth about a Senate trial. There are only roughly 4 people that can be called because the rules of evidence will apply. You have to be a fact witness. And you have to have done something during the course of this investigation to either promote or deter this investigation to be called as a witness because you broke the law either way. So, number 1, the whistleblower will be called. Don't care what you want, Adam Schiff. They're going to call the whistleblower. You better cough up the name. You've got the name. Oh, I don't know who the name is. Well, then why do you stop everybody from inquiring, and when they get close to it, no, you're not going to find out the whistleblower. That's because Adam Schiff knows who the whistleblower is. Yes, he does.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Anyways, so he gets called. Number 2, you will have Mr. Solomon get called because he actually had direct conversations with the president about whether or not it's a quid pro quo, and he told him, the president told Mr. Solomon, I don't want anything from the Ukraine. I just want him to do what he campaigned on doing. No quid pro quo. Period. The end. Okay. Then, see, that's number 1. That's number 2. Number 3 person. Of course, the president, because you want his testimony. But the number 4 person, maybe a number 5, but there will be a 4th person that will be called and can legally be called. Adam Schiff. Because he made up the story. He lied to the American people. He lied to Congress, even though he is the chairman of the Intel Committee. He lied to Congress, and lying to Congress is a crime. And no, he is not immune from prosecution. He can be charged with that crime, and he can be charged quickly, just like they did with all these other guys that during the Russian debacle. The problem we have, folks, here is very simply this, and that is the truth. That's who can be called. Democrats don't like that because they don't want the whistleblower out because we're going to find out he is not a fact witness. So basically his whistleblower report is a mess and it's a lie, and he is actually discrediting every whistleblower in the future. Nobody will whistleblow because you're going to be considered a liar. They don't want Solomon called, but he will be because he is a true fact witness. None of the other people, none of the professors will be called, and nobody will be called that is not a fact witness, and they know who they are because they have the transcripts and they know who it is. Adam Schiff will be called, and the Democrats don't like that because that's going to leak out some dirt because he can be charged with perjury because he's going to swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and he has to be sworn in to do this testimony, and he can be charged with perjury. President Trump will be called in. Of course, they want that. Yeah, that's a great thing. And, they could also call in the Lieutenant Colonel Vindman. But he's kind of tainted. But they can call him in. They'll ask him, and he's going to give the same answers that Solomon gave. He didn't know anything. Now, on the Republican side, here's the bad news, guys. This is an impeachment move. This is an impeachment trial for the President of the United States, a Republican duly elected by over half of the population of the United States. 63 million people voted for the President of the United States. He won the Electoral College hands down by a landslide. He is our president that is doing so many good things for us. Yes, but that's what the trial is about. The trial is not about Hunter Biden or Joe Biden. They were only brought up in the conversation. They are not fact witnesses, and they cannot lend testimony, as they say, whether the conversation, either way. They are useless witnesses. They're just kind of useless anyways, but they are useless witnesses in this case. Bring them in. Yeah, you can air their dirty laundry all over the place, but there's nothing they can do there. And what has to happen is Mr. Barr, William Barr, the Attorney General of the United States, will have to bring charges against them. That's in a different branch of the government, which, by the way, folks, is happening. His investigation is moving forward. So there you go, folks. This is a trial. I'm going to say it one more time. This is a trial of the President of the United States for one 30-minute phone call where he did nothing wrong. Now, they may bring up evidence of other presidents speaking in different manners, like, I don't know, there you go, the Obama to the Russian premier there. Tell Putin I can do more after this election. I'll have more flexibility. Or the hundreds of billions of dollars flown on a black plane to Iran under the cover of darkness. That kind of stuff. Yeah, we can, but that's not just showing and it can only be used as evidence as this is what these presidents did. But you found no wrongdoing there. So you're going to say this guy just talking to somebody and saying, hey, can you look into this fraud? And let me tell you something, folks. In lieu of the FBI FISA report that just came out last week, now all of the Democrats are saying, well, our intelligence committee says it was only the Russians, not the Ukrainians. You know what? I don't trust our intelligence committee at this time, or our intelligence branches at this moment, because they lied to get a FISA warrant to investigate and spy on the Trump campaign. I would have the same statement if they did that and did it to Hillary Clinton, although she would probably deserve it, or if they did that against Joe Biden. I got a problem with a violation of your rights, and that's a violation of rights. You should be safe and secure in your own country from being spied upon by our government. This is not the Soviet Socialist Republic, folks. This is the United States of America. So I don't trust our CIA and FBI. They will do anything they can to say, oh no, Trump is wrong. But we have a court. Thank goodness there's a court that came out of the Ukraine, a court ruling that said, yes, the Ukraine had something to do with this. CrowdStrike group was part of the problem. Oh, yeah. And then also Politico, another internet news organization, they wrote that the Ukraine was upset because they thwarted their plans to dethrone, to get Hillary Clinton in. So there you go. Yes, the Ukraine had something to do with it. Well, that's all we got here today, folks. I just thought I'd vent and voice my opinion today because, you know what, that's what it's all about. And maybe, just maybe this week, some of those Democrats will actually get ready to throw their vote on the floor and vote for some common sense.